In the history of football, which player do you think, if not for injuries, would be a far greater player?
I think at the end of the day, when you see a skillful player, you have to admire it, and he could have been so much better if it wasn't for those injuries. And it's a real shame, but that's life, you know.
伤病毁掉了多少球员，毁掉了多少球队的争冠之梦啊！那么这个赛季的争冠又进入到了白热化的阶段了。这场比赛刚好就是一场曼城对阵利物浦的比赛，所以现在我们就去问问球迷们对于伤病的看法。What team do you support?
City.
City. Have you come down from Manchester today?
We came down yesterday.
We're just talking about injuries today because you've got a few injuries in the squad. Are you worried that it's going to impact your title race?
Yeah, definitely.
This is the part of the season where we need a full fit team because we've got so many important games coming up.
De Bruyne had to have stitches, didn't he? So I don't know. I think that will make a big change, big impact. That's why we're worried, aren't we?
Yeah. Especially as Pep Guardiola, he loves rotation. He's big on rotation, and when you're restricted on the players you can play, you can't rotate. So it's not something Pep Guardiola is used to at Man City. I mean, you've got £100 million on the bench with Jack Grealish. I mean, you're loving life, but if he's really a winner, he's going to make it count.
How big an impact do you think injuries had on the Liverpool season?
Not as much as last season, so I mean, it just shows how we're doing so well this year. Last year, we could barely field the team most weeks, so it just shows the difference when everyone's fit and available.
Teams like Arsenal have been heavily impacted by injuries, and the Premier League is allowing 5 substitutions for next season. Do you think that's a good idea?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Yes.
No.
You don't?
No, I think it's too many. I think it's all right as it is.
I think in a way, yes, it just gives that more of a utilise your squad, especially like obviously City, Liverpool, Chelsea. You know, in the cup competitions for so much longer, the squad is you want to turn around your squad as much as you can.
It does favour the big clubs, though. Yeah, the smaller clubs are just especially promoted. That's more difficult for them.
It's a different game today, football. It's more about the health and things like that, you know, and stamina. Whereas when I first started, it was just a football game, you know, and you had a bit of physical things about the game. But today it's not. It's about protein, it's about health, it's about fitness. Obviously strains, the players can get more strains today than they did before. But yeah, I think it's a good thing.
看来啊，伤病是每一个运动员最恐惧的敌人，但是你爱运动的人就很难避免受伤，对吧？哎，我刚好听说英国有一款国民品牌，它的一款强健骨骼维生素特别适合运动人士。我们现在就去问问英国球迷，他们知不知道这个品牌 ？We're just doing a survey for a brand today. Have you heard of its antibiotics?
I haven't, no.
This one.
Yeah,
Yeah, I have actually.
I've seen it on the supermarket shelf, I think. So yeah.
All right.
Vitibiotics, is that the one where they do like stuff for men and women? Yeah, I've seen it.
Have you seen it?
He clearly takes it all the time.
Oh yeah, love it. My friend Brendan, he loves Vitobiotics. He's a big fan.
We haven't paid you to say this, right?
No,
Can you confirm?
Not at all. Not at all.
I've heard of turmeric. I know a lot of Asian people, not necessarily Chinese or Malaysian or Japanese, mainly Arabs, and they tell me it's better for medicinal purposes rather than taking prescribed tablets off the doctor.
很显然啊，英国人都很喜欢这个品牌。那么现在呢，在国内的各大电商平台上，我们都可以买到它。你们快去找找看吧。Is there any players in the history that you think, if not for injuries, would be the greatest player on earth?
Well, to me, Maradona was the greatest. He had lots of injuries as well, so...
He'll be even greater.
Yeah.
Probably Paul Gascoigne.
So present day, you've got to be like Messi, Ronaldo type thing. But I think one of the greatest is going to be Pele.
You can look back on Liverpool players like even Irish man like Jim Beglin. You look at Rob Jones for Liverpool. They would have had better careers if it wasn't through injuries.
For my Manchester City player is Colin Bell.
Colin Bell.
He only played 40 games for England, but he would have played a lot more had he not been injured.
I would say Daniel Sturridge was a really good player because of his injuries. I didn't think he reached his prime, Daniel Sturridge.
I think Ronaldo, Brazilian Ronaldo. I think Mourinho was one of the players. He said, you know, who's the best football player you've ever worked with? And Ronaldo, if you really look at the highlight reels, he didn't just score goals, he scored special goals. Sometimes we lose sight of why we fall in love with it in the first place. It's not all about statistics and, you know, who runs the most. At the end of the day, when you see a skillful player, you have to admire it, and he could have been so much better if it wasn't for those injuries. And it's a real shame, but that's life, you know.